Let's explore architecture. Today we will be inspired by Spanish architect Antoni Gaudi.
Welcome back, my most amazing artist. Miss Brown here, coming to you from my studio in Brooklyn. Today's project is going to be one about architecture. We're going to be looking at the architect Antoni Gaudi. He was a Spanish architect located mostly in Barcelona. He was born in 1852 and he died in 1926. He's known for his architecture style called Catalan modernism, and many of his works are in Barcelona. I was fortunate enough to have the chance to go to Barcelona last summer and visit several of his architectural landmarks. Many of his works are in quite a unique style. He was greatly influenced by nature. He was also a Roman Catholic and he was influenced by his religion. One of his most famous pieces is the Sagrada Familia, which is still unfinished, but they hope to finish it in 2026. So you can still go there, but it is an active building site. He began his architecture career at the young age of just 26, and he has had 7 works declared on the World Heritage Site by UNESCO. He also got the nickname the God's Architect for his impact in the Roman Catholic faith, because he was very inspired by his faith and he put that also into his architecture. The different sites that I was able to visit were one of his first, which is Casa Vicens, Park Güell, Casa Mila, and Casa Batalo. I also did create a Gaudi inspiration sheet, which I'm going to attach to this presentation, which you can use for your own project. We're going to be designing our own Gaudi inspired building. So I've included things on here like windows, towers, stained glass, the different iron balconies that he's known for. And he also was known for recycling ceramics. So often he would use even ceramic pieces in the exteriors or outsides of his building. He took a lot of inspiration from not only nature, but also the sea and the ocean. And I'll share with you a little clip of a video that I took inside one of the buildings that really looks like water. It was so exciting and inspirational. Put shingles on here, stained glass, and he's known especially at Park Güell for his mosaic work. So I think you're really gonna like this project. I really enjoyed learning a lot about this architect while I was in Barcelona, and I can't wait to share it with you.
The supplies you will need today are a pencil and eraser, heavyweight paper, black permanent markers, watercolors and paintbrushes, a water cup, paper towel, and an optional ruler.
So for today's project, we're going to be working on creating our own Gaudi inspired building. So I'm just going to be doing what would be considered the front of the building. I have here my tourist guide that I had when I was in Barcelona last summer. So you saw a lot of my pictures in the opening of the video. And I'm really excited to try and recreate in my own design the inspiration of nature that Gaudi took, and also all of his organic forms. So a lot of times in my own personal work, I do a lot of things with straight lines. So this should be quite a challenge for me. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually make sure my pencils are nice and sharp. And I'm gonna be going over this later on with some black Sharpie and adding watercolor to my background. But for now, I'm just gonna start out with the structure. So the first thing I wanna think about is how tall I want my building. One of the things that impressed me the most about Gaudi was that he did have these amazing rooftops. So I wanna kinda have some rooftop interest. I'm gonna hold my paper vertical. That doesn't mean you have to. You could certainly hold yours horizontal, completely up to you. So I'm gonna think about the height of the building first, and we know that he did the Sagrada Familia Cathedral, which is still undergoing renovation. They're hoping in 2026 that will be completed. So I'm just going to take some straight lines going up first. You can start however you like. And I'm gonna leave some room here. I'm gonna have sort of a curvy line, and then I'm gonna have part that comes up here. So I'm thinking of things like nature, trees, obviously ocean was really inspirational for a lot of his architectural works. And the shapes of the windows, you can see in particular on, this is, yeah, in all of them, he has very organic, curvy shaped windows. So particularly Casa Mila, Casa Vitello, Casa Vincennes was his first that he did in Barcelona. So it didn't have as many curves going on. It was more inspired by a combination of architecture. So I think for this one, I'm gonna have some curvy windows. And you might have noticed in the pictures too, he has those really interesting balconies that were made of iron. They were really intricate to see in person. Sometimes it's fascinating to see things in person, even more than a photograph, right? Because it's like coming to New York City for the first time. When you go in Times Square, you have no idea that the lights are gonna be so powerful until you see them in person. It's one thing to see the photo. So I think I'm gonna have 3 windows here, and then I wanna have a window up here. And I think I'm gonna have some sort of rooftop fence. I can think about lots of curves. That was the other thing I noticed. He had a lot of interesting curves. And I used to work in the Guggenheim Museum, which most of you know is designed by architect Frank Lloyd Wright. Now, Frank Lloyd Wright also was very inspired by nature. And I have to say, when I saw the Gaudí buildings, I really could see how they were impacted by one another, particularly with the inspiration of nature under the sea, bringing the outside in. So I'm gonna start with that, and I can keep adding details, but I'm just gonna get the basics in first. So obviously windows, so I'm gonna put another set of windows down here. I'm thinking kind of like shapes of shells almost. So an under the sea sort of inspiration here. And then for the front doors, I think I want it to be even more curvy. So, and I'm thinking, you know, when you have seashells, and I might have to move that row of windows, but you know how seashells have those lines. I'm just thinking about all the things I know from nature. And when I was there in Barcelona last summer, even things like door handles, everything was so considered, and it all really went together. So you could see how he really planned just everything to be inspired by nature and the sea. So I think I'm gonna put in these curly Q balconies. And then there's gonna be another part of the window here. So really think about all the different types of lines that you know, right? You know, curvy lines. I'm not using a ton of straight lines because most of his lines were really gonna be organic. And in La Sagrada Familia, the inside was super inspired by trees, bringing the viewer up, right? So you want people to look up. He was really excited about doing that. And he was even inspired by children's literature. I know the one park that he designed, Park Güell, which is also in Barcelona, which was one of his very first projects when he was in his early years of getting commissions. And that particular project
they say that the entrance is inspired by the Hansel and Gretel. I don't know if you knew that little fact, but I'm gonna just build up all my little details here. So I'm sort of making this amazing fantasy house that's inspired by Gaudí's architecture and his style of bringing nature. Maybe I even want to have some more curvy lines happening up here. And you may have noticed too that he did use a lot of different materials, right? Because he would use stone and he would use stained glass, and you might think about maybe some of these having the stained glass that you could look through. And sometimes even the stained glass, one of the buildings, when you move in it, the elevator, you look to the side and it looks like water. It is so amazing. So I'm going to keep working on all of my details, and then we will go ahead and add our marker. Okay, so I've gone ahead and added a lot of my details, and I think I'm pretty much ready to just finish up a few of my lines here and go ahead and trace it in black Sharpie. Now, I have thought a lot about my inspiration of shells, ocean waves, again, ocean waves, the lines of how the water moves. So I really took my inspiration for mine from the idea of underwater. I'm gonna clean up a little bit. Clean up some of these smudges later too. It's from my hand rubbing across. Do you ever get that on your hands? It's just from the pencil lead. But I can clean that up after. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to do my lines and we'll see where we're at. Okay, so I want to go ahead and add a background color, so I'm going to mix up my own sky color. And remember, you can add in purples and blues, whatever you like, even magenta, purpley blue sky. So I'm just going to put in sky color to make building pop. Now you can watercolor the whole building if you want. I'm just gonna leave my building as a black and white line drawing with a watercolor background. And do some blending, wet on wet here. And again, you could also do this with marker if you wanted to add some color. Oh, noticing I missed a little line. Or maybe that's supposed to be empty. Now, if this is a see-through fence, I might want to go ahead and extend. I have to decide if I want to extend my watercolor inside the fence. I think I'm going to actually. Check that.
So the reason that this works is because this is permanent marker, right? So the marker is not going to move. If that was Crayola, water would activate the marker. So and while it's still wet, I can go ahead, maybe I want to put some more purple, have it blending. A little more blue. I'm actually thinking here, I don't really want it. So I'm gonna wet this and see if I can lift it off. If you ever have this happen, you can wet your watercolor and you can lift it off a little bit. Because I have this part of my structure, that's why I was thinking it will look a little bit strange if this was purple. So I'm just gonna bring that back. There we go. And if you get a little on there, it doesn't really matter. Again, you can just put clean water. So you could keep painting it, you could leave it as black and white. I'm gonna leave mine with just the background in watercolor. All right, gonna let it dry and then see if I wanna add any other Sharpie details. I hope you had a lot of fun traveling with me to Barcelona, and I hope you enjoyed learning about Antoni Gaudi and all his amazing works inspired by nature. I can't wait to see what you created. I hope you will share it with me, and I'll see you back here for more lessons next time. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your week.